You're welcome. I'm Charles Aite. To our first story, high cost of certain foodstuffs and housing pushed the rate of inflation for the month of August to 9.7% and near the upper limit of the target band. However, it still remains in the single-digit bracket despite the consistent upward trend in the prices of some foodstuff and housing. Addressing journalists, government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna-Aining said the situation is worrying.
We look at the composition of year-on-year inflation, keeping in mind the 13 divisions, and we continue to see that food inflation is contributing the largest to the overall inflation of 9.7 that was recorded for the month of August 2021. For the first time in several months, we're seeing the contribution of food inflation surpassing 50%, specifically 50.2%. We also see housing maintaining its contribution at 16.7%, and we see a marginal dip in transport of about 0.3%, that is reducing from 14.3% that was recorded for the month of July 2021 and 14.0% recorded for the month of August 2021. Combining housing and food inflation, we are accounting for 2/3 of the overall inflation that was recorded for the month of August 2021, and combining food, housing, and transport for 1/5 of the overall inflation are drawn from these three divisions, with food 50.2%, housing 16.7%, and transport 14.0%. We do the disaggregation at the subclass level on a year-on-year basis and on a month-on-month basis, focusing on food, in the view that food is the major driver for the August 2021 inflation. From a year-on-year basis, we identify 7 subclasses that record food inflation higher than the overall average, that is the 10.9 that was recorded for the month of August 2021. And from the month-on-month basis, we identify 9 subclasses that do record food inflation, that do record inflation higher than the overall food inflation of 0.2. Specifically, we see cocoa drinks and cereal products from both a year-on-year basis and a month-on-month basis leading on the chart of higher rates of inflation, specifically with 15.7 and 15.5 respectively for cocoa drinks and cereal products on a year-on-year basis, and 12.3% for cocoa drinks and 2.8% for cereal products on a month-on-month basis. We record a deflation for water, ready-made food items, and vegetables on a month-on-month basis, and largely these three subclasses are what is driving the 0.2 food inflation that we did record for the month of August 2021. We do a trend analysis again by comparing food and non-food inflation on a year-on-year basis, and also do same on a month-on-month basis. For the second consecutive time, we see that food inflation has dominated non-food inflation with a wider gap of about 2.2%.
Meanwhile, the Greater Accra region is back to its position as the region with the highest rate of inflation for the month of August, a position it lost to the Northern region in the previous month. Eastern region, however, remains the region with the lowest inflation rate. Let's break it all down for you with some statistics and highlights of the month in perspective. And of course, we shall show you that in detail, but we're joined by Zoom by Edward Karewe, the General Secretary of the General Agric Workers Union, for some analysis of the trend which indicates that food has been a driver for inflation for some time now. We're so grateful that you could join us. I could see you on the ground, but help us understand, what do you make of the latest statistics?
Well, let me say good afternoon to all of you and to all the people who are listening to us. What we have seen about the statistics is the true reflection of what is on the ground, which is different from what we have been hearing, that there's no cause for alarm so far as food production and food availability is concerned in this country.
So therefore, is the trend a matter of concern, considering the fact that some foodstuffs are driving the rate up?
Yeah, certainly. You know, if we look at the basket, there are a number of things that actually constitute the food and the inflation, or determine the inflation. And food is major. So if the prices of foodstuffs are going up continuously, certainly it will drive up inflation, and that is what is being reflected or is available for us to see. And I think that the statistician made it clear that it's a worrying situation and that this is not what we had expected. Particularly, it's not the case that around this time of the year, we have so much lack of food, and then culminating into food prices going up the way they are today.
But when you look at the value chain, Mr. Kariwa, of course, there are some hiccups there. From the farm gate to the market centers, what exactly can be done to address this matter of the food production value chain once again, so that it doesn't build up to the cost?
Well, we all know about these issues. We know that the roads to the farm gate is very bad. I am just in the north now. I've gotten stuck on the farms because I try to go to the farms. Other people have also gotten stuck. Even the tractors, which came to try to bring us out, also got stuck. So the routes to the farm gates are very bad. And then again, the way we also transport our food to the market centers is not also well organized. So we just need a holistic, overview to ensure that when food, we map out where there's food in each district, where the farm gates are, and then how we are going to transport that the food from the farm gate to the urban centers, to the market centers, and then to where it is most needed. And that we will now know the challenges as they pertain in each case or in each district, in each region, and then we should address that. And once we do that, certainly we'll have a situation change.
Now, especially when you're on the ground, I want to pose this question to you because we do know that the Agri Ministry, the minister, in that regard, made mention about the provision of fertilizer to farmers up north. What is the situation now, having to also attach the recent, flooding there? How is the situation now regarding the upskill of farmers with the acquisition or, the procurement of fertilizers to them?
Well, let me say that for the past, since Friday, the rains have not been heavy within the northern sector, particularly Upper East and so on. And the ground is getting dried, and that is good for the crops. If after 1 week the rains come and they don't come in a torrential manner, it will be okay. The fertilizer availability is, at this time, is not a solution because fertilizer application is time bound. So there's little that people can now do with fertilizer. And the only fertilizer that is actually being needed now is the urea, or which we sometimes also call the ammonia fit or whatever. That is that fertilizer. And that one is only meant for crops that are tasseling, like you talk about the maize, you talk about the